And that was your national anthem. And we were all just oohing and eyeing over the pictures people sent.
Yes, the flag with the snow in the background is beautiful.
Did you see the pool with the snowman next to it? That must have been in Florida last week.
I saw Ron DeSantis and his wife and kids out in front of with the snowman in Florida. It was crazy. Yeah.
Wow. We're going to get started on news, but by the way, I never shared photos from the inauguration with you guys. In the next hour or two, I'll make sure I share some of those with you guys in the top of the hour.
But we saw plenty of them. They were, I mean, your family was the most photogenic family of the entire inauguration.
I think it's Valentina took the cake there, but yeah, we'll try and show some of those because we're still sort of basking in the inauguration. But there's a lot of news to get to right now.
Yeah, Trump is celebrating this morning after getting two key.
Thank you, Madeline. You got it. Interesting stuff. Not up there. Sean Duffy on Tuesday. I believe they're going to vote for him, or at least I've been told by some good sources.
Out of committee on the floor.
Yep, on the floor.
Nice.
And but interesting, Pete Hegseth, congratulations, he's out. But some of the senators who didn't vote for him voted for Rachel Levine. I mean, it's just kind of incredible if you really think about it. If you remember Rachel Levine, from HHS, he thinks she's a woman. He thinks he's a woman, I guess.
Yeah, they voted for Fauci. They voted for a lot of these people, and then their support is just mystifying to me because I think they made a great case. Also, John Ratcliffe, excited to have him as the CIA director. He's out and in that position, and then immediately releases a report that I found fascinating. I know we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, I guess it did come out of a lab.
Yeah. And the CIA, that was the CIA under Biden. That's what they came up with.
I didn't need to be in the CIA to know that one.
Yeah, exactly. They have a firm grasp of the obvious.
Yeah.
This is a great CIA we have here. But it is kind of interesting because, of course, obviously everybody's talking about RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, and Kash Patel being sort of the biggest boulders to get up the hill. But, of course, prior to last week, people were talking about Pete Hegseth and Kristi Noem. They both turned in tremendous performances during their hearings, and they did.
These guys, in the case of Bobby, they don't like that he's up against big pharma and big corporations. And in Tulsi Gabbard, she's someone who's willing to give peace a chance. Whatever he's using on his skin to look so young.
With all due respect.
And seriously, with all due respect, because you know what? I kind of admire that.
That's
getting the glam shot is not what he's like.
If you were nominated, there's no way you're clipping on the tie and taking on the picture.
Right. I'd be wearing shorts. No, I admire that. That's called having your priorities straight right there.
I'm all in with Daniel.
Well, somebody who has their priorities straight is Donald Trump. So during the Biden administration, Biden decided there weren't enough IRS agents. And so he devoted millions and millions of dollars to hire 90 or 80,000 more of them, Charlie? Was it 80, 90,000 more?
Yeah.
And Donald Trump said, yeah, we don't need those guys. Let's just send them on the border, Donald Trump.
But this is what you call big picture thinking,
yeah.
Which is what you get with Donald Trump. He's like, okay, we've got all these IRS agents. We don't need all these new IRS agents. Let's send them to the border. And, since they already have guns, they can go and protect the border. That's the kind of big picture practical thinking.
I didn't know that IRS had guns until he hired those.
Oh, yeah. Well,
what?
Okay, just fail to pay your taxes and you find out they have guns.
They've taken all these Border Patrol agents and put them into these administrative issues. They're filling out paperwork. So if you got to fill out paperwork, where better to go than to an IRS agent? Make them fill that stuff out and put the border agents back on the border. I think it's great. Those numbers we put up or that we were just talking about, that's since Thursday. Remember, Donald Trump hasn't been in office even 1 week yet. And look at all the action that he's having. I love at first I was like, wait, the IRS at the border? But now it makes a lot of sense to do the administration.
So I was like, let's just fire him. But I love what you're saying there. You're saying, no, let them take the guns and get down to the border and do what they're supposed to do.
And, of course, they're catching the worst of the worst, including 3 Nicaragua.
Unnamed Venezuelan. Charlie's got that.
I would have nailed that.
But you nailed it. But here it is. These are Tren de Aragua. No one on the left, on the right, should be able to argue with getting these gang members out. And as we've had Joseph Humeyer on many times, an expert in Latin American security, saying these are not like normal gang members. They're state-sponsored. They're extremely violent. He says even more violent than MS-13. Imagine that. And they've been pouring in since, as Donald Trump said, they've emptied these prisons on purpose in Venezuela. And so they're getting these guys out. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, America is safer by extracting these people. And God bless the men and women in uniform who are risking their lives to go in and take these people out. It's not as if, you got to assume they're heavily armed and they don't want to leave. We saw a video yesterday. We looked at a video of a guy who was just irate, and you know what? Keep after it.
Well, Donald Trump actually talked about these gang members leaving our country yesterday in Las Vegas. Listen.
Diabolical. They will actually purposefully get arrested and go into prisons so that they can recruit new members in the prison and serve time. You know, it's one thing for gangs to do drugs, but when you're doing straight up human smuggling, straight up human slavery, it's a whole different level.
They are running the child sex trafficking as well. So no one's going to miss them. And good for Donald Trump for prioritizing these deportations and getting the really heinous bad guys out.
And willing to find them anywhere. It doesn't matter. Like the Biden administration had all these rules where you weren't allowed to go to get them. And it makes no sense. And Trump is like, nope, we're going to get them wherever they are.
Amazing.
All right, turning now to your headlines. Secretary of State.
All right, guys. Well, there's a lot of annoying things that people do when they go to work. And there has been a study revealing all the annoying habits that coworkers do that make their other coworkers upset. But get this, one of them is not being late. Apparently, that's just part of work-life balance now.
Yeah, that's also called just being on time. That's like your job.
It's called decency.
It's like...
Yeah, but they're saying that's not annoying.
Yeah, I know, but it's like... Because it's not... That was never...
I'm not late to this job. This is a morning job.
No, you're never late.
But everything else in my life, I'm late for.
If you want something done, ask Rachel to do it, because she already has 10,000 things to do.
I might as well just do it.
10,001 is like... Yeah.
But listen to this. There are some other habits that they say...
moments for vulgarity.
Well, I hate it when people clip their fingernails at work, and I can hear it.
I've never heard that.
Is this what they do in Congress?
Where did this happen? Where did this happen?
What happens on airplanes, and it happens at work, and if like, I don't want to hear you clipping your fingernails, and that thing goes shooting off somewhere.
But they do shoot off.
You were in Congress for how long? That's the most annoying thing.
Oh, I got a lot longer list than this. I can tell you that.
This is what we're here for.
Yes. I mean, it's disgusting. All right.
I agree.
These aren't just pet peeves. These are things that
But that's not a work thing. That's like anything.
No, I hate it when somebody comes and tells me and looks me in the eye that they're going to do something. That happened a lot in Washington, D.C., and then they walk out of the room, and it's like they take the polar opposite position.
Right, because they know they're going to be there longer than you.
You're getting me mad. You're firing me off. Yeah.
This is the bureaucrat dilemma, right? Like they're there longer than the member. So they don't really have to do what you say, and they can't be fired.
See, this is my argument against
getting him spinned
term limits. Is because if you limit, I want term limits on the bureaucrats.
Yes.
Amen.
Not on the members.
Exactly.
We can always vote them out, but you can't get rid of the swamp. They're there forever.
Do you return your messages?
Oh, why? What?
I'm just asking because that was on the list.
Oh, return. Yeah.
Not returning messages.
What kind of messages?
Well, like if your coworker sends you a message, do you return it?
I haven't set up my voicemail yet.
Oh, I don't. I turn off my voicemail.
I've only had my phone for...
I hate voicemail.
For 15 years.
Just send me a 3-word text. And if you call me, you don't need to tell me that you called me.
Yeah.
I can see that your phone rang, and if I want to call you back, I will call you back. You don't need to leave me a voicemail. I don't need to spend 30 seconds saying, I called you, call me back.
I'm generally good about responding, but you know what the problem for me is? If somebody sends me something that's really important and I really want to think about it and give them a really thoughtful response, and then look back 8 months later and I'm like, oh, I never responded to that person.
Yeah, if you don't respond right away, it just goes.
Right.
Yeah. All right, well, conspiracy theory no longer is set to visit Panama this week after Trump calls to take back
In June 19th, 1902, that's when the U.S. Congress authorized...
1904, Panama grants the United States government control over the canal for $10 million.
And that includes, the U.S. then had to get this thing done.
That's right. And this was a massive project. It's really hard to imagine just how they did this. 55,000 people were employed, an estimated 5,600 Americans died of injury and disease. I guess malaria was rampant at that time.
Yeah. And obviously there were massive studies at the time to try to figure out, like, one of the huge advancements for figuring out how to cure malaria, to prevent malaria, was done at this project because there were so many deaths. Panama Canal is finally officially opened in 1914 after the U.S., it took U.S. engineering, U.S. money, U.S. diplomacy to figure it all out.
That's right. And then in 1979, and what Trump calls the biggest mistake ever by Jimmy Carter, the Panama Canal was handed over to Panama.
Which is kind of especially interesting, and I just learned this last night trying to study up on this, that in the campaign for president, Jimmy Carter actually promised he would never give control of the Panama Canal away, but on December 31st, 1999, the U.S. surrendered control over the canal itself to Panama.
That's right. And then in October 22nd, by the way, my birthday, in 2006, a massive expansion of the canal was approved by the Panamanian voters. So they wanted to open it.
They did that for your birthday.
They did it for me. Yeah.
That was your third birthday.
That's right.
You were 3 years old that year.
And so here we are now, right here. So just so you understand how many, vessels get through there, 13,000 to 14,000 ships pass through the canal each year. It's about 5% of world maritime trade. Massive.
So, and of course, it's not just maritime trade; it's also military. For military strategy, it's important. The United States.
But there are other users, and they include Chile and China and Japan and South Korea, and that brings us to some of the problems that we have.
So, and much of the controversies about that Trump is, which is the enormous increased Chinese influence in South and Central America, and Donald Trump is saying, stop. We want, this is our hemisphere. We want to take control of it. And it's a really genius move by him to sort of flip the script on the Chinese and all of those governments down there that have been kind of playing footsie with China, even though they're in the American hemisphere.
Yeah, essentially, China has bought off a lot of the elites and government officials all over Latin America. This is a very significant, Hong Kong, it says Hong Kong, but it's China influenced. China, of course, as you know, their corporations heavily, influenced and with the CCP, and there's always sort of dual purposes. It's never just commercial. It's commercial, military, and their strategic priorities. So that's a big problem. Significant that Marco Rubio chose to go here first and pay attention to the Western Hemisphere for the first time in a long time.
And another example of where Donald Trump just is willing to look at things completely differently and flip the script on everybody.
Yes. All right.
So coming up, tackling the big game, Rachel.
All right, I love a little John Mellencamp.
Oh, yeah.
We were just talking about all the annoying habits that people have, and Jason had mentioned earlier he doesn't like people who clip their nails at work, which I thought was weird, but I just had to floss in front of them because I had some barbecue still in my teeth. So does that annoy you, Jason?
No, it's better that it's out rather than in.
Thank you. Then you don't have to look at it when you look at me.
My wife flosses all the time. She has this little thing.
Oh,
my teeth are so
really
close
happy
together.
that you shared that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
She's got amazing, perfect teeth.
That's the problem. If your teeth are close together,
she's just amazing and perfect, period.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. But had to be done.
Didn't think we were going to go there, but yeah.
But, I mean, it's just what happens.
Yes, it is.
Well, last week, as you guys know, was the inauguration. I brought my whole family out there, and I thought I'd just share a few pictures.
And Avita said, yes, well, Will knew all of our names, so we have very high expectations for you. And I said, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I think you might be Rachel's daughter.
You think? Yeah, they said they had a great time. That was at the Turning Point party.
Yeah. The Charlie Kirk.
I didn't have the energy to make it that night. It was just a lot going on. But those kids said they had a ball. And I guess you were out there partying too.
Yeah, it was really, really cold.
Yeah, it was super cold.
Like miserably cold. And you had to walk like all the way. You had to walk like a mile to get there.
Yeah. Well, another party, always. Vegas.
Always a party in Vegas.
Always a party in Vegas. And Jason, Donald Trump was there. And he was greeted with chants of USA, watch.
Crazy about Donald Trump because not only does he inspire situations like that, but he's actually talking about real issues.
Couple things going on here. First of all, Donald Trump understands the working man and woman, and the reason that was so popular. Kamala Harris tried to come on later and pretend like it was her idea. That wasn't true. He understands stronger and feel better about it.
I love that you bring it up, and it's not just a left-right thing. It was also within the Republican Party. The country club Republicans were always embarrassed of the working class that were part of the coalition. They were embarrassed of the pro-lifers who were part of the coalition, of the religious right that was part of the coalition. And Donald Trump has embraced them all and said, I'm with you. And you're so right about his patriotism. You say what you want about Donald Trump. Nobody doubts he loves this country. Nobody actually personifies sort of the possibility of America more than Donald Trump.
It's a real influx of hope that we haven't seen in a long time. And smart Democrats realize that they have a real problem.
Yes.
And I think one of those smart Democrats is AOC, who realizes what a threat.
I'm with Charlie on this. I think you don't underestimate that woman.
Yeah, I think that we make fun of a lot of the stupid things she says, and she does say some stupid things, but she is a lot more in tune with where people are than you would think she was.
I think Charlie is seeing and talking about, maybe you see this too. So in 2016, she's right, there was actually a penalty, even among Hollywood elites, if you normalize Donald Trump. Remember when Donald Trump went on Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy Fallon had just had Hillary Clinton and gave her a softball, fluffy interview. And then he did the same with Donald Trump. And he was excoriated for it. In fact, later on, he had to go and do an apology, I think, in Vanity Fair, saying, I'm sorry I did that. No one was allowed to treat him human, like a normal person running for office as he was, because they said you would normalize him. They were afraid because he is culture. They were afraid of his cultural influence.
Okay, but
now they can't stop it. It's happened, and exactly what you said.
But
people are chanting.
It's not because they changed. It's because Donald Trump dominated and kicked their ass.
Of course,
that's the problem. AOC, in my opinion, is an idiot. She's an idiot. The difference. That's what I see in Donald Trump. I don't buy this whole idea that they've suddenly got this revelation. They see that he's got 80–90% of America on these issues.
I don't think that.
And now they switch around.
I don't think that it's that.
And that's the normal.
It's not that they've seen the light. It's that they can't control the narrative anymore. They've lost control.
That's right.
Partially social media.
Totally agree.
Partially the strength of Donald Trump. Fight, fight, fight. I mean, that was so powerful. But I think say what you will about her, and you're right. She's, for a woman, especially who has a degree in economics, she's economically ignorant. However, culturally, she went to Boston, or University of Boston, or Boston U, I forget. She understands the culture, and that's why she's worried. Another person who understands what's happening culturally, that the left and the elites can't stop, is Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith. Watch this.
Barrier, though, of the media. The traditional media was continually knocking him down. The lawfare was taking its toll. One of the big things that happened was Elon Musk with X. And so suddenly you had the ability of the American public to actually see unfiltered, raw. And Donald Trump went out and did things that the Democrats didn't do. He went out and talked on social media. He did the podcast. He did those types of things. And people said, wow, he was on Joe Rogan for 3 hours. I agree with him on all that stuff. That's what made the fundamental difference, his ability to break through. He has a message, and the Democrats' fundamental problem isn't that Donald Trump is cool, although they are right about that. They lack ideas. They have nothing creative. They have nothing to offer the American people other than higher taxes, more government, and more regulation. That's a Democratic Party of today.
I think what you're seeing is fear. What you're seeing is fear from AOC. I agree with everything you're saying. I think the point is AOC, unlike Schumer, for example, who's probably out of the cultural,
has no idea what's
no idea what's going on culturally.
He smells something on fire. He doesn't know it's his own tail.
Yes.
But not only does Trump, did Trump go where Democrats are, Trump also went where Republicans had never gone before.
Amen.
And he went to the Bronx. He went to places. He went to the barbershops and said, you know what? I know Republicans don't ever ask for votes from Black Americans. I'm going to go and actually work for these things. And you know what? It paid off.
And he went there policy-wise. He said, no more wars, no more stupid wars. Republicans never talked like that before Donald Trump. And boy, people are responding to it. Left, middle, young people want that. So it's not just it's not just the image. There is substance behind this shift and this change.
He
in the
went with
party.
total respect and didn't pretend to be something he wasn't.
Amen to that.
He just went to them.
Yeah,
and
the
talked about
authenticity
the
meter
issues.
was off the charts. Americans smell through that. But yeah, that was a huge change. And you know what? They're being more candid about the CIA too. So the CIA spokesperson said this to Fox News Digital. CIA assesses with Donald Trump got elected, that Biden CIA had all this information. John Radcliffe gets confirmed, and what? Within 72 hours, he exposes what they've believed and thought all the time. They just never shared it with the American
That
public.
statement still is pretty weak. I mean, if that's the best the CIA has, like, pull their funding. Like, this is like, I'm not in the CIA, and I knew this right away. I mean, the Wuhan lab started to disappear, or China started to disappear scientists from the Wuhan lab who were raising alarms about this. Doctors who were starting to see patients, they were disappearing them. Red flag, hello. And also, the Wuhan lab was doing COVID and coronavirus studies. Like, duh. And this was all deliberately, hidden by Fauci. And this is what concerns me, you guys. It's not just the lack of transparency. It's the lack of accountability. The fact that Fauci got a pardon, and he will never have to bear responsibility, at least from a federal level. And I talked to you. You said he could still face state charges. But this man did a huge disservice, responsible for hundreds, millions of deaths. And he will not be held responsible. That's a problem.
And this is your weekly reminder that government comes up with the most absurd things, and nothing's more absurd than the Central Intelligence Agency. They're on top of it now because they're so intelligent.
Well, we'll see when all these things come out of what Donald Trump is going to reveal on JFK and everything else. I think we're all going to get a new look at the CIA.
And if the RFK, when he gets into Health and Human Services, that's where the treasure trove of documents is.
Yes.
That oversight can be revealed. And Fauci and others, I think, are still subject to civil suits.
Do you think they disappeared somehow? You know how they did on Russia collusion?
You got to have some really good
rid of
oversight. They got to go into those bowels and go figure out what they do and
paper
when.
shredding.
I would argue that exposing the reality of all of that is even more important than all the transparency about JFK assassination, Martin Luther King assassination. This is stuff that happened, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and everybody, including many in the media, were in on it.
Yeah, and we all jabbed ourselves, not everybody, but a lot of people jabbed themselves. I want to know what they knew and what did they not do. Yeah.
Everybody who felt obligated to do that, to keep a job, deserves to know what exactly is going on there. All right, turning now to your headlines. A migrant order to end that. Wow, did you guys know about this?
No, did not.
Yeah.
No,
but
sorry.
Please don't make us eat that, producers. Don't do that.
Why would you say that? You're just guaranteed that you'll be eating it.
Well, the organization teaming up with the border czar Tom Homan to find more than 300,000 missing illegal migrant children. How they're doing it, that's up next. Border czar Tom Homan and investigative reporter Sarah Carter to launch an initiative aimed at locating over 325,000 missing illegal migrant children for Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Here to discuss is Goya CEO. Back in the summer, myself and Will and Pete interviewed Donald Trump. I asked him directly, will you find these children who are missing? And he said, yes, of course. And I was so heartened to learn that he was already starting on this right away. As soon as he won, he got Tom Homan on it. So, Bob, I'll start with you. What is Goya doing to help Tom
Past
Homan?
administration has been active in bringing in people, not just from the northern,
You're
southern.
going into the schools, Bob, because so many of these kids are ending up in the school system, and you're able to give the signs and let them know that there's help for them and resources should that happen. But obviously, this is going to take law enforcement, right, Sarah?
Oh, it's going to take a huge cooperation with federal, local, state, law enforcement officials, as well as, I think, our partners in the Western Hemisphere. Safe and report what's happening. And then, but it's the aftercare.
That's what I want to know.
most
What happens
important.
after you find them? What is happening to these children? The Biden administration, Tom Homan, you guys find them, and then what happens?
Well, I think have been trying to contact relatives. HHS has a hotline. Some of these children have called that hotline.
Well, Bob, as you know, we were complicit in this. The Congress, the Democrats refused to do DNA tests on these children, and then they handed them off to people we don't know. They're telling me I have to wrap one last sentence from you, Bob.
You know, this is a big.
It's remarkable what you've done, Sarah. And Bob, you know, there are very few CEOs who want to take on an ugly issue like this. God bless you for putting your efforts and your money behind something
Very
like this.
few presidents.
And
That is
very few
true.
presidents. Amen to that. Thank you, Bob. All right, we'll be right back. I tell you, I feel so blessed that my kids get to go to this school. Classical education, Charlie, we were talking on the break, you said is the answer to America's education system and all the problems that ail our education system. I'm really hopeful that Donald Trump will do something to make it more accessible. I mean, these schools, they break their backs trying to fundraise and make sure that every child who wants to go there can afford to go there. Wouldn't it be great if there were universal vouchers so you could just take the money wherever you want to send your kid?
And it's a mission. The people that work at these schools are so mission oriented.
Yes.
They love what they do. And and I think the key ingredient to it is rigor. They're so rigorous. They require you to work your tail off.
School uniforms, I love it. And you know what? You look at the inner cities, they've been run, I'm sorry, but the fact
Totally
is, by the Democrats
100%.
for decades.
It's
and
a
they're
cartel.
failing.
It's a
They're
cartel.
failing. You go to Baltimore, you go to Detroit, you go to some of these big inner cities, and guess what? Every single kid is like failing. You go to some school districts, there's not a single kid who can pass like 8th grade math. And if you're going to, if you want different results, you're going to have to do different things.
Yeah.
And I hope that that's the whole message. I don't even think there should be a U.S. Department of Education. I think that should all be to the states. But I think the mission should be, hey, look, we're going to take the best practices and we're going to allow and push your kids so parents can make decisions on which school they get to go to. So they can go to a quality school like the one your kids go to.
Yeah.
I remember covering Detroit Public Schools, and it was back when vouchers first came sort of on the scene, and there was like, it became like this dirty word in Democrat circles, and you talk to parents, and they'd be like, oh, vouchers are terrible. And then you would ask them, what about if you got a coupon that allowed your child to go to any school, including that Catholic school? And they would say, oh, that's a great idea. What? Somebody should think of that. That's that's what a voucher is.
You know who's not thinking? Poor working class, middle class families want to be able to choose their education. You know who gets to choose? Barack Obama chose to send his kids to a private school.
Anybody
Hillary
that can.
Clinton did.
Yeah.
So if you're rich, you can choose. Let's give the choice to everybody, and I hope that's what Donald Trump wants to do.
You don't have to call them coupons or whatever. Call them scholarships, because that's what it is. It's money to go to the school of your choice.
Yeah, amen to that. Well, I can't endorse this school enough. We're just so happy there. All right, well, President Trump is happy. All right, well, Trump making all kinds of news. And one of the things that Pete and Will and I, we had an interview with him at Bedminster, and I asked him directly, are you going to declassify all of this stuff from the CIA, the JFK files, the 9/11 files, the J6, and also Epstein? Here's how that went. If you were president, would you declassify? You can answer yes or no to these. Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you?
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would.
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there.
What do you guys think?
I think the country wants to see it. And I think these, particularly some of these things that are decades old, the JFK assassination.
Shine light on it.
That's the whole point of America, is that we have the right to demand that these things be exposed, and we should expect it to be exposed. You go back to the JFK assassination, and it's not like, this is not a conspiracy theory. We know the government lied about a lot of things regarding
No, come on, Charlie.
And
everyone who brought it up, including the director Oliver Stone, all those people were made to feel like they were conspiracy theorists and they were crazy. And we may find out they were actually right. But what about Epstein?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, and of course, I love that Trump burrowed right in on the whole thing about all of the questions surrounding his death. But I'm reminded, and it's kind of a joke, but it's not a joke. It's very serious. It's very true. What is the difference between a conspiracy theory and a news story? About 2 months now.
Yeah, it's a spoiler alert.
Again, yeah, exactly, exactly. Again and again, we're finding out that these things that people are kind of, walking around out on the street, kind of curious about, and then boom, it turns out you're right.
Do you remember she said she's having Tom Cotton on, Shannon Bream is on the show next. I mean, I remember when Tom Cotton was like, hey, there's a biolab in Wuhan. We got to look and see what was going on there. And he was excoriated for that. And now we see, oh, yeah, it's a biolab.
It was just 4 years ago, the entire tech oligarchy and the media, mainstream media, you were shut down. My newspaper, the Washington Times, we got shut down. Those stories got disappeared when we began reporting on the Wuhan lab. And we were not reporting speculation. We were doing real, honest-to-God reporting, exposing, raising the questions, pointing out what was actually going on. And it's funny to look at the evolution of the fact checks of those stories to today. They keep having to fact check their own fact check and the fact check. And this is the Washington Post and USA Today, these New York Times, these major newspapers. Today, when you pull up the stories that we were doing 4 years ago, you go through all the fact checks. It's like, oh yeah, totally correct.
Yeah, let's
Everything
see the
was
New
accurate.
York Times put that on the front page along the way.
By the way, real reporting from Charlie Hurt at the Washington Times. Also, we saw his childhood newspapers yesterday that he put out with his, he put together with his siblings.
Went around the elbow to get to that.
I'm sorry, I still haven't stopped thinking about it. It was so well done. Tell us the headline before we go of
Cat
the cat.
splat, that's that. That
Cat
was my
splat,
friend.
that's that.
cat
It
got
does.
run over by a
Headlines don't
tractor.
get any better. I want you to do headlines all the time for our show now that you're here.
I
Great
got
stuff.
a lot of grief about the cat.
I'm supposed to read the headlines, but maybe
Yeah.
Charlie's. Are you trying to tell me that you want Charlie
I
to
could
read
punch
the
I could punch him up a little bit.
You can punch them up.
Go ahead.
You read the headlines. If you think they're better, you punch them up.
I'll edit them. You go
Okay.
ahead.
All right.
I'll edit
All right. Secretary of State Mark.
What about flossing in front of your coworkers?
As long as it's
Depends
not
on who it
loud and you cover it up, you know.
I couldn't have improved a single one of those headlines, but I'm only saying that because producers are bringing us hot dogs today.
Yeah, we are getting hot dogs.
The Wienermobile.
Thanks to
It's coming.
Charlie.
The Wiener movie.
The Wiener. I hope they let me drive.
Charlie and his highfalutin tastes, his favorite food is hot dogs. So we're
I'm
doing hot dogs
so
today
excited.
in honor
Can't
of
even
Charlie.
tell you.
And it's not the Anthony Wienermobile. It's just the Wienermobile. It's the real Wienermobile.
All right. Well, nearly 6,000 people, at the top of the list, is making, keeping Hollywood in California and not letting it, be offshored or sent to other states. So you're right. California has to take it under, has to take responsibility. But maybe with some leadership from Donald Trump, we might see some action.
Yeah, AI is also going to play a role in this.
I know. I think the industry is under attack from a lot of. It's a great point.
And let's also be clear. Every cost of living cost that is piled on California residents with government regulations makes it more difficult for
It does.
for the.
I know a lot of people watching, and I'll end on this. A lot of people watching go, well, it's LA. It's they don't vote for conservatives. Hollywood is America, and you're right. We export culture, and we export Hollywood, and it's America. And so hopefully the America First president will save Hollywood.
All right, we got to move on. Trump is promising. Those of us
Never heard the name before.
Those of us with Swifties in our family, we're in the know here.
Charlie barely knows who Taylor Swift is.
Well, you need to know who Charlie Puth is.
But the song is How Long Till You Get Your Hot Dog?
Exactly what I was going to
That's
say.
what he's thinking.
It's all worth it now.
I am so
I can
excited.
literally see the Wienermobile out there.
Charlie's
Right there.
coolness quotient just went off the charts because, I mean, to bring in the white
Like up
Wienermobile,
or down?
Up.
Oh, okay.
To bring in the Wienermobile.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got
You made it happen.
You gotta have
Flexing.
some. You gotta
You're
have some.
flexing.
You have to have some hot dog mojo
Yeah.
to pull that kind of thing off.
But we're going to brave the cold in just a little while and go out there and enjoy hot dogs, the super high-end cuisine that Charlie is going to bring to the set here.
And you know who else has a super cool quotient? Donald Trump.
Amen.
In Vegas last night, walks into a casino. Like when I walk into a casino, they all start laughing because they know that I'm leaving with no money whatsoever. When Trump walks into a casino, he gets a different reaction.
And of course, those patriotic chants, not just coming from the customers, it's coming from the people who work at the casinos, because Donald Trump is in Vegas to say, hey, remember when I promised you no tax on tips? I am going to follow through on that promise. Promises made, promises kept. Watch.
And the fact that he loves this country, he loves the flag, and he loves the people of the United States, and they feel it.
Yeah, that's my favorite picture of him, the one where he's hugging the flag. Remember that one? The best. I think it was the cover of Dan Bongino's book, too.
And kissing the flag.
He's kissing the flag.
But his comments just a minute ago reminded me of my favorite quote from him from his first term, when he announced that he had kept more promises than he made, which is pretty extraordinary.
That's such a Trumpian way to put it. Well, during that rally, President Trump also announcing that these deportations initially were the reaction from the Democrats was, this is bad, and that we thought they were going to all react negatively to it. But it looks like some of them are actually reacting to their people, to their constituents, and they're changing their tune a little. One of them is Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey. So here's her before talking about deportations. Listen.
So elections do have consequences, it turns out.
Did you hear what she said? We're going to do everything to protect our citizens.
Yeah.
These are not citizens.
Exactly.
And if you're going to protect the citizens, you're going to go get the criminal illegal aliens, that's the legal term, and you're going to apprehend them, and you're going to send them back from whence they came. That's
right.
Protecting your citizens.
But she did change her mind. So the first clip was her saying, no, we're not for this. And the next one, she's like, yeah, like we were expecting this. We're going to protect
Some of
people
these
from
people are
criminals.
murderers and rapists. And I'm not saying they all are, but I'm saying the criminal element they're allegedly committing these crimes. And when they're detained by the local law enforcement for allegedly committing these crimes, they should be cooperating with ICE. They're still a sanctuary state. They still have a long way to go. Boston and the others, they have got to cooperate with ICE. That would be cooperating with our federal government.
And we have to make sure that nobody ever forgets that they are the ones that invented these illegal sanctuary cities, and sanctuary states. They did it purposefully, intentionally. And if they didn't, maybe they didn't intend for all the crime and mayhem that came, but anybody could have predicted it. In fact, people sat around predicting it for years as they did it.
Well, smart Democrats know that immigration and the open borders is a big reason why they lost. Donald Trump never, ever wavered on that.
Yeah, and whether they're having sort of these conversions or not, which I'm always doubtful that any of them ever do, they see the polling. They see their own internal polling, and they realize that their own people are ready to walk away from them forever over this issue more than anything else.
That's right. Well, we've been talking a lot about culture and how culture has changed because Donald Trump has sort of taken over in a big way. Everything from YMCA being the hottest song to, we just had Girls Gone Bible, a podcast that's surging up the podcast charts. And those young ladies, beautiful young ladies, did the prayer over Donald Trump during his inauguration. Saturday Night Live, of course, used to be a cornerstone of American culture. Everybody kind of wanted to see what was going on. And then they stopped being funny, in the Obama years and in the Biden years. Here's the first SNL cold open since Donald Trump took office. Watch.
That's James Austin Johnson doing Trump. And it just goes to show, remember when Alex Baldwin kept doing Trump? And it's the worst Trump impersonation. Like, everybody knows how to do a Trump impersonation. Alex Baldwin does the only one that is absolutely terrible. His Trump impersonation is worse than mine. And mine is just for my own amusement.
Because when you do an interpretation of somebody like that, and when you imitate them, you have to have a little bit of love for the character, for the person. And his was so seething. He hated
Carson days. I was a little kid with Carson, but Jay Leno, they gave balance. They poke fun at both sides. That's what America wants to see.
I think it's a new movement, MAFA. Make America funny again.
That's right. And now Pete's happy because, he's on Saturday Night Live now.
Oh, you think they're going to come up with it? Who would play him? That'll be great.
Yeah, that's funny. We'll see what happens. All right, we're going to turn now to some headlines. And those are your headlines, you guys.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pass on that.
Yeah, it sounds nasty.
Exactly. All right, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
It's time for another pop culture roundup. Who better to join us than our co-host, Charlie, because we're talking fashion. Of course we got
I'm a
Charlie.
fashionista.
That's right.
Actually, even I see that. It is, I can see Audrey Hepburn there. And of course, you know, Trump Tower is right next to Tiffany's.
Yeah, that's
where
right. Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, no, it's very similar.
Thank you,
Was
Ivanka, for bringing this back.
Yeah. But
Amazing.
It was a little bit, a slightly tighter dress, though.
Yeah,
It
but
was not like.
let's talk Melania, because you and I haven't
That's
stopped talking
really
about
all-
Melania.
That's the only reason I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm an expert.
Look at this. So let's look at her fashion from the first inauguration, and then juxtapose it to this. And I want to get your thoughts on what this means. I mean, to me, this is fashion perfection. And by the way, she had blue. Look at the blue gloves. I mean, this was my favorite Melania look ever.
Gorgeous. Love
Gorgeous.
it. But let's go back to the hat. The hat made it. You know what the hat was about?
What?
The hat was the most gangster thing I've ever seen. She was coming back into Washington. She's like, y'all went through my underwear drawer and I won. She looks like a female version of Alfonso Capone, as Donald Trump likes to know. She's playing his Bonnie, playing Bonnie to his Clyde. They are coming back to Washington, taking over. This is what that's what the hat.
Who knew Charlie could break down fashion so well?
Yep,
We're
that's
gonna
what
go
I meant.
back. All right. So let's go to Kai, because Kai, Donald Trump's granddaughter, is like a huge influencer. She did a behind the scenes of what was happening at the inauguration. Millions of views, Charlie, like 3 million views. Everyone loves looking at what happens behind the scenes.
So great, yet again, more information overflow from the Trump administration. We love it. More video from behind the scenes. But the other thing is, what's so great about this video is how great, you know, can you imagine doing this with Joe Biden?
No.
What would you get behind the scenes of Joe Biden? That's why they brought all these kind of freak shows to do the behind the scenes stuff at the White House.
We got some normalcy. And by the way, she says, my grandpa is just a normal grandpa.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of normal, this is what's making AOC so mad. She says we need to stop normalizing Trump. Watch.
What makes this go around with Trump?
She's so mad Trump's popular and on top of pop culture.
He broke them. He shattered them.
Yeah.
They've owned this forever, and he broke through. And, you know, like we've talked before about Andrew Breitbart used to talk about how politics is downstream from culture.
Yes.
Donald Trump is culture, and it's driving her insane.
And he always has been.
Yep.
They tried to stop him. He's unstoppable.
They used to love him, and then he got into politics, and then they hated him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's a great story. All right. Kamala Harris and Doug Emhoff. So they've been kind of sad, down and out, going grocery shopping. Here's what makes me mad, Charlie. I go to the grocery store with all my kids, my little ones. I forget my bags because here in New Jersey, they won't let you have a plastic bag. These people have been telling us bad, plastic bags bad, and look at them.
And, you know, they probably looked at their reusable bags, and they were like, nope, these things are covered in germs. I'm not about to use it.
By the way, I love plastic bags.
Oh, yeah.
I love
you
them.
can carry like 15 of them like this.
Yeah, and I use them to put poopy diapers in. They're reusable.
They're your diaper genie?
Yes, they're my diaper genie. All right, now look at this. Gen Z, they're having a civil war. So they're kind of known as the grandma culture because after COVID, they started to stay home, watch Netflix, order in, you know, Uber Eats. And now some of these Gen Zers are saying, enough of this. We need to go party like our Gen X parents did.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to help you with this one. I don't know what Gen Z is. I don't know what Gen Y is. I don't know what I don't know any of the
Okay,
Gen.
my kids are Gen Z.
So my kids are Gen Z.
Yeah, and you're Gen X.
I'm Gen X?
You're Gen
no,
X.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
No, I refuse.
You are.
I'm-
So should they go out and party? Stop scrolling,
Yes, they should.
stop swiping.
Yes, you need to go to the bar. You need to meet people. You have to walk up to girls and ask them out to date. That's how you do
Bring
it. In
back
person.
dating culture.
Yeah.
We've been talking about
Yeah.
this, Charlie. Charlie, I might have to have you on every week, and I think we're going to do all fashion. The best fashion breakdown we've ever had on pop culture. Charlie Hurd.
I mean,
who'd have
really?
thought? All right, congratulations. All right, President Trump spreading